What if the thing you're most afraid of is exactly what you're unconsciously drawn to? That dangerous decision, that wild craving you never talk about. You say, "I'd never go there." But then you do. You scroll their profile. You send the text. You stay in the situation. You walk willingly into the fire, knowing it burns. So, why are we, as human beings, so often attracted to the very things that scare us? And more importantly, was Freud right when he said that your deepest desires are rooted in fear? In this video, we'll explore the chilling intersection between fear and attraction through the theories of Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, and someone who believed that your mind isn't run by logic. How Freud's death drive theory explains self-destructive attraction, and how your childhood experiences may have planted these patterns deep within you. We'll unravel the strange link between anxiety and eroticism, why danger often triggers desire. We'll answer the question, can you ever truly escape the pull of what you fear? Or are you destined to return to it forever? Your whole life will suddenly make disturbing sense. Make sure to watch till the end, because the last segment reveals a Freudian concept that even most psychology students don't understand. But once you do, that fear pushes us away and desire pulls us in. Let's begin by killing a myth. Most of us believe that fear and desire are opposites, but Freud would tell you this is wrong. He believed our minds are not clean, logical machines. Instead, they are filled with repressed urges, primal instincts. In fact, according to Freud believed this is your unconscious mind at work, playing out old scripts from childhood, shaped by trauma, shame, and unspoken longing. Nowhere is this more obvious than in the experience of forbidden attraction. You've felt it. That person you know is toxic, but you can't stop thinking about. The thrill of breaking a rule, the strange pleasure in walking toward something that feels wrong. It's not logical, it's repetition, compulsion. Something Freud believed was the unconscious trying to resolve old pain by recreating it. To understand why fear and attraction mix, we must understand repression. Think about it. Horror movies with a romantic subplot. Freud said that when we feel something unacceptable, like rage toward a parent, instead, it festers, influencing our behaviors in ways we don't even notice. So what happens? Sometimes, the repressed emotion leaks out, disguised as anxiety. For example, someone who had a cold, distant father may find themselves constantly falling for emotionally unavailable partners, even if it hurts. Freud noted that fear can heighten arousal. This is because fear increases adrenaline, and adrenaline mimics the physical sensations of excitement. Your brain misinterprets the signals. What you think is arousal might just be fear in disguise. But Freud went deeper. He believed that the forbidden, the scary, becomes desirable. We want what we're told we can't have. And the more dangerous it feels, the more our unconscious is drawn to it like a moth to flame. Let us go deeper into Freud's most unsettling theory, the death drive. Or as he called it, Freud believed that human behavior isn't just motivated by pleasure, love. There's something darker underneath, a hidden force that drives us, toward. At first, this idea shocked even his own followers. Why would anyone be drawn to death? Why would someone crave pain? But Freud wasn't talking about a conscious desire to die. He was describing something much more subtle and much more terrifying. According to him, every human being has two major drives: Eros and Thanatos. Eros is the life force, the drive to connect. They say it feels passionate. But what if it's really a slow form of self-destruction they can't escape? That's the pull toward undoing, silence, nothingness. And here's the disturbing part. These two drives often get mixed up. Sometimes, what looks like desire is actually death in disguise. Think of someone who keeps returning to an abusive relationship because the pain is familiar, and the familiar feels safe, even when it's deadly. Freud believed that these people aren't choosing pain. Their unconscious is simply repeating a familiar pattern, a pattern rooted in past trauma, guilt, or punishment. That their unconscious is trapped in a loop, trying to master the original trauma, a wound the conscious mind can't heal. So the unconscious takes over, or sabotage their own success, because deep down, this is the unconscious doing what it knows best, repeating the known, even if it hurts. And repetition, Freud said, is the clearest sign of the death drive at work. This is called repetition compulsion, the irresistible urge to return to painful situations, hoping for a different outcome, but secretly needing it to hurt. This is where fear becomes attraction, where the line between desire and destruction blurs. But why does this happen? Freud believed that when trauma occurs, especially in childhood, it creates a rupture in the psyche. Instead of moving forward, the mind circles back, new decisions, new failures that all lead to the same emotional result: pain, rejection. That's why someone might be attracted to a partner who resembles a cruel parent, and the familiar becomes desirable. This isn't logic. This explains why we often find ourselves pulled toward people, situations, or feelings we logically know, and until we bring that pattern into the light, it keeps running our lives from the shadows. Now let's trace it all back to where it really begins. For Freud, almost every pattern of fear, desire, and repetition starts in childhood, the kind that gets buried, the kind that lives deep inside your unconscious, shaping your adult life in ways you never asked for. Freud believed that the most powerful forces in your psyche were formed during your early relationships, especially with your parents, or made you feel like your emotions were too much. This is where you first learned love. So the mind does something strange. It blends those feelings together. But what if those early experiences were confusing? What if love and fear came together? What if the person who held you, the child, doesn't know how to understand that? Fear becomes part of love. Pain becomes part of attachment. Punishment becomes part of intimacy. And this doesn't go away as you grow older. It gets buried. Freud called this the Oedipus complex, not just about family dynamics, but a deeper idea that we all carry unresolved emotional conflicts from childhood. You might not be aware of it, but your romantic preferences, your emotional triggers, your attractions, there are often echoes of what you experienced when you were too young to understand it. A child who felt emotionally unsafe might grow into an adult who feels drawn, but because their unconscious is trying to rewrite the story. Why? Because they are associated with survival. As children, we accept any emotional pattern, even painful ones, if it means we stay connected to the people we depend on. If I can make this person love me, maybe it means I was lovable all along. Why we crave the thrill of something that also terrifies us. But that's the trap. Because you're no longer dealing with the present. You're chasing a ghost from your past. Freud believed that these early emotional blueprints are incredibly hard to break. So when you feel drawn to someone who scares you or excites you in a way that feels out of control, ask yourself, does this feel familiar? Not in a good way. You may not consciously recognize it, but your body and emotions might be reenacting something much older than the current moment. And here's the chilling part. Freud said that the more we try to avoid these truths, the more power. That's why some people sabotage happiness. Why we chase emotionally dangerous people. Because our unconscious mind isn't seeking peace. It's seeking resolution. And sometimes, it confuses that with repetition. When you understand this, things begin to make sense. Painfully. Can we ever truly escape the pull of what we fear? Freud wasn't sure. He believed that the unconscious is powerful. Far more powerful than most of us realize. It doesn't speak in words or logic. It speaks in symbols, habits, dreams, and impulses. And because of that, it doesn't care whether something is good or bad for us. It only cares that it's familiar. But that doesn't mean we're hopeless. Freud also believed in awareness. The painful but liberating act of bringing the unconscious into the conscious. The moment we recognize a pattern, we create the possibility of changing it. Not easily, but slowly, by confronting the real source of our attractions and fears. You might realize that the person you keep chasing isn't who you desire, but who your unconscious is trying to fix. You might notice that your craving for danger isn't thrill-seeking. It's a reenactment of emotional neglect. You might understand that the fear you feel when someone truly cares for you a warning. It is your unconscious. This is where healing begins. That's what therapy was for. Not to erase your fears or desires, to sit with them, to expose the hidden meanings beneath your choices. Freud believed that the key to escaping unconscious repetition was insight. But now you will have a mirror, a way to catch yourself before you fall. That attraction to danger might still show up, but now you recognize its source, and with recognition comes choice. To reflect, to respond, instead of repeat, and slowly the pattern loses its grip. It's not a clean path. The unconscious doesn't give up easily. Sometimes you'll still be pulled toward the same familiar pain. In the end, Freud's legacy isn't about fear or fatalism. It's about honesty. The kind of honesty that looks at your darkest thoughts and doesn't flinch. The kind that says, yes, I am drawn to what scares me. And with that understanding, you begin to loosen the chains. So, why are we attracted to what we fear? You've seen the thread that ties fear and desire together. And maybe, just maybe, that knowledge will help you break the loop. Leave a comment below if you've ever noticed yourself chasing what scares you. Because when we speak what's hidden, we begin to heal. Because fear and desire are deeply entangled in the unconscious mind. Because we seek resolution, not comfort. Because the past is never really past until we face it. And because somewhere deep inside, we believe that if we just repeat the story one more time, maybe this time it will end differently. But it won't. Not until you change the script. And now, you've taken the first step. You've looked into the shadow before it breaks you. Thank you for watching.